wonderful event here at the Beth El Synagogue Center in New Rochelle. S.E.E, S-E-E, support, education, engagement, share the love of Israel. And that's what this is about. And as you probably have seen by now, and if you didn't know, then you'll see the tables out there in the main room with the various organizations coming together. Among them are Jewish National Fund USA, the Alexander Muss High School in Israel, Ale Negev, Ammunition Hill, Masorti, AJC, Stand With Us, Friends of the IDF, Lone Soldiers, the Lone Soldiers Center, Students and Parents Against Campus Anti-Semitism, Hatzalah, Arza, and perhaps others that haven't been listed just yet but have joined. Because at the end of the day, the common denominator, it's Israel. In all of her colors and complexities, irrespective of our political or denominational affiliation or cultural background, the common denominator is Israel. We want to thank Beth El Synagogue Center for hosting this amazing day in show of strength and support and love for our beloved Israel and all that's happening there. And Rabbi David Shuck, Shalom Uvracha, thank you for having us. It's so wonderful to be here, and we look forward to a wonderful panel, which we'd also like to open up for discussion, because that's essentially what we want to do here this day here at Beth El Synagogue. So what I want to do just quickly, give like around half a minute to a minute for each one of you, just to say your name, who you are for our alumni, of course, where you're from, what high school you go to, and what year you attended AMHSI. For my colleagues, Alon and Avnet, who you are, which organization or partner of JNF USA it is that you represent, and just a quick sentence on why you do what we do, and then we'll get underway. We'll start with you, Freddie. Yep.
Hi, I'm Eliza Brown. I attend Suffern High School in Suffern, New York. I'm a junior, and I went to AMHSI in December of 2016 to January of 2017.
Hi everybody, you hear me back there? Yeah? My name is Avnet. I'm from Netanya, a nice city on the beach, a bit northern of Tel Aviv. If you've never been, I recommend. I moved a year and a half ago to live here in New York City with my wife and our little baby to spread the word about Ale Negev, which is a rehabilitation village for severely special needs people in Israel. Another thing I recommend you next time on your trip to Israel to come and visit. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Alon Vald. I'm coming from Israel also. On a special request of the GNF, I came here to tell the story of the Ammunition Hill, which is a national memorial site located in the north side of Jerusalem, and tells the story of how the Jewish nation, the Israelis, returned back to Har HaBayit, to the Western Wall, soon after the Six-Day War ended. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing site that talks about values, not only about death and sacrifice and battle whereabouts. The last week I was very, very busy all over Florida, talking to congregations, to communities, and I found very committed communities that love Israel. It was very empowering and impressive. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am from Manhattan, and I go to LaGuardia High School in New York. And I went on AMHSI for the spring semester of 2016.
Hi, my name is Jenny Collins. I'm from Pelham, New York. I go to Pelham High School, and I went to AMHSI for the December session.
Hi, my name is Rachel Weiss. I live in New York City. I go to Harvest Collegiate High School, and I went to AMHSI during the December 2016 session.
Wonderful. Thank you very much to our panelists. I want to start off with our two Israeli friends here from Ale Negev and from the Ammunition Hill. Growing up, what is it that you knew about Kakal JNF?
As far as I'm concerned, it was the blue box. Also, Israelis held the blue box in the schools and high schools. And surely every Tu B'Shvat and all these such holidays, we kept on planting trees. We knew that all over the Jewish diaspora people are also invested in this. Keren Kayemet is something which is taken for granted in Israel. It's some of the most meaningful organizations But I must tell you that only now when I came to the United States, I saw how things are happening over here. This is something completely new to me. And sometimes in Israel you feel alone when you have so many bad stuff being told about Israel in the world. And one of the most important things I'm going to bring back with me is to say to my friends in Israel, as far as Keren Kayemet and GNF are involved, we will never be alone. And it's very meaningful for us.
So my experience is not very different from my friend Alon. I also remember the blue box when I was young. It was in my class. I knew about the water and I knew about the trees. In the last 4 years, I'm a partner with JNF, and every day I'm fascinating about the organization, and as Alon said, about the Jewish people in America, which are so supportive of Israel and so wonderful.
So essentially, and we all know here in the audience, I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of JNF and grew up either with a blue box or collecting dimes or nickels growing up. I remember myself growing up in Brooklyn and what that was like. What is the relationship then between JNF and Ale Negev or Ammunition Hill? What is the connection between planting trees and with the work that you're doing? Why do you think JNF has taken on your projects as partners?
So, very good question. Toda, Lior. Our organization started to be partnered with JNF about 13 years ago when the founder of Ale Negev, Major General Doron Almog, did a degree here in Harvard, in Boston, and someone introduced him to Russell Robinson, the CEO of JNF. Doron told him about his dream to build this rehabilitation village for special needs in the Negev. Russell immediately hooked, and they become partners and friends because it fits in the blueprint Negev that JNF is trying to promote in Israel, which is moving 1 million people from the center of Israel and from America, New Orleans, to the Negev and to the north. How do you do it? You create jobs, you create health facilities, you create education system, etc., etc. So we, in Ale Negev, we provide 400 work opportunities right now. In the coming years, we will provide 1,000 jobs, which is amazing to this area, if you know the Negev. We also provide 14,000 outpatient treatments to people in the Negev, which lack of those kind of treatments, and also education system for special needs in the area, not only for severely special needs like our permanent residents, but also for external students that are mild special needs from the area and needed, the family need this support.
Alon.
To understand the long-term connection between GNF and us, you need to understand who am I actually. I'm a fully grown man sitting in front of you, but actually I'm the small 2-year-old baby that was running in the trenches of this battle zone about almost 50 years ago. And the story of the Ammunition Hill is actually, from then until today, is the story of me trying to know my own legacy, my own partnership and my own role. Because I left my father over there. I was 10 months with my father, a captain of the paratrooper reserves, the Liberators of Jerusalem Division, actually penetrated the way and led the way into the Ammunition Hill, and he was killed practically 50 or 60 meters from the place I'm working on a daily basis at the Ammunition Hill. All my life I tried to know my place. I tried to know my father through his friends, through his comrades in arms. And for so many years I tried to be worthy to their legacy, tried to go to the paratrooper corps. It was not that easy to create a figure of my absent father over here. I tried to imitate them, me and my generation, tried to know who my father was and how might he talked like, speak like, small gestures, mimics I collected from his comrades in arms. And these guys actually adopted us, our generation, never leaving us alone. So the legacy I revealed is not only a legacy of bravery and commitment until death. It's also something that has to do with the commitment to a nation, camaraderie, thinking creatively outside of the box. All these values are something which do not only belong to the Israelis, they belong to the Jewish diaspora, they belong to anybody that can visit this place and become aware of how amazing, beautiful, one people, one nation, and we are all. And once the JNF understood that this story is not only about death, but also about values, they understood it can raise the commitment of people from all over the world. They can understand everything in about 2 or 3 hours visit to the Ammunition Hill. And they practically asked us about 6 years ago, what do you need to become more relevant? And they made me break my teeth 3 years ago to speak in English. It sounds better in Hebrew what I have to say.
You're doing okay, right? You're doing all right?
So it's part of what we do, and the JNF supporting us made us a relevant place that indeed talks about values and empowering people from all over the world.
The success of any organization and even company over a long period of time is its ability to, I don't want to say reinvent itself, but maintain its relevance. And like any major company out there, if it doesn't maintain its relevance with the times, it ceases to exist. And many of these major corporations no longer exist today. But an organization like JNF that started over 100 years ago, which essentially was charged with purchasing land so that our people can go back home, right? Then became the Tree organization, which then led to other projects and developments that required, in order for the land to blossom, to be able to accept and absorb our people throughout the years, which include, of course, water reclamation, research and development, afforestation, of course. We know Israel is the only country that ended the last century with more trees than any other country in the world. And it has to do, of course, with all the trees that many of you have planted. Over 210 million trees hand-planted, over 200 reservoirs built. And now we're talking about infrastructure. Avnet talked about population, I don't want to call it population transfer, but population sort of transmission to the south, to the Negev. Ben-Gurion said, our success is in the Negev. If we will succeed, it will be because we settled the Negev. And we made it what it is today, and today it is happening. And that's a major a goal of JNF today, of course, in partnership with these organizations. And that's the genius, is its ability to collaborate and partner with existing organizations and partnerships rather than reinvent the wheel. So you go out there and you find an Ammunition Hill organization, you find an Ale Negev, and many other partnerships. And I recommend that you check out our booth in the main room and see and learn more about the various partnerships JNF has forged. And most recently, in the last couple of years, it has to do with education. Because I have to tell you something, and you might all agree with me. Without a next generation, all that we're doing is for nothing. Because who will maintain this infrastructure? Who will be those people sitting in the pews like yourself? Who will be going on missions to Israel? Who will be lobbying Congress to support Israel? Why does the United States support Israel? Because they feel for the Jew? No, because we're there on Capitol Hill and we're lobbying and we're telling them how important it is to support Israel, the only democracy in that part of the world. What better friend does America have? It's all about our next generation. And so this panel is about the land, of course, the people, and the youth. And so with that, I just want to briefly just make one more comment about a merger, a historic merger that took place almost 4 years ago in September with JNF USA and the Alexander Muss High School in Israel this year, celebrating 45 years since its existence, 26,000 alumni, and the impact that it has had as a result of these alumni, by extension, the Jewish world. 4 years ago, JNF realized that they wanted to invest also in the next generation. So they took on the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. And together now we've been able to grow our efforts and to extend our impact, not only in the United States, but around the world. We have students from all over the world coming to spend a semester abroad in Israel, in Rochelle, in our youth village. It is an American accredited high school in Israel that provides all the general studies required, but more importantly, a study in Israel that you will get no other place, a chronological study of Israel. And with that, I just want to give our alumni here a minute just to say, I mean, we know you went, right? What was life after like? What was that aha moment? What was that discovery? You know what? What was that aha moment? What was that point in your experience in Israel as a high school student where you were like, oh, aha, I get it. Let's start with you here on the left. Yes, on my right, I should say.
So I think we can all agree that we all had aha moments in Jerusalem. One of my aha moments was actually just walking through the cobblestone streets when we went to the Shuk in Jerusalem.
Machane Yehuda.
Yes. And just basically knowing where I was, because I had been to Israel pretty soon before I went on AMHSI. I was there the year before, and I had been to that same part. So when I looked around and I recognized where I was in the streets, I was like, aha, this is like a home to me. Just that kind of, like that feeling of comfort over 5,000 miles away from home, just knowing where I was, knowing my surroundings. That was my aha moment.
Thank you.
My aha moment would have to be on our second Tiyul when we went to Jerusalem. It was also our first overnight Tiyul. When we were on the bus going towards Jerusalem, at one point our Majid blindfolded us. They had us wrapping around fabric across our eyes so that we couldn't see where we were going. Then we get off the bus all holding on to each other's shoulders like in a train, and then they walk us to somewhere. We had no idea where we were exactly, and they tell us, take off your blindfold. And then it was, what we were looking at was the Jerusalem skyline at night, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And that was the moment I knew that I was where I was meant to be in that very moment.
Mine was definitely when we went to the Kotel on Friday night, and everyone was singing and dancing and welcoming in Shabbat, and it was like something really special to be a part of.
My aha moment was when we were in Independence Hall in Tel Aviv. Hearing Ben Gurion say the Declaration of Independence was definitely meaningful to me, and it's something that listening to even now gives me chills, and it really impacted the way I see Israel and how I came home and love the country.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we did okay with that. All right? Alon, a little bit of a political question and maybe a little difficult, but hey, this is what this is about. We the Jewish people are about questions and answers and debate, and that's a space we have to open up. Ammunition Hill sits in a very critical juncture in Jerusalem. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Some of the Israelis refer to it as the east side of Jerusalem. It was on the Jordanian side just before 1967. And we are indeed asked so many questions, and some of the Israelis tend not to come to this section of Jerusalem. Some even debate until today what should have done or not been done, but I cannot change history. I can live today, and I can think about tomorrow. So,
What does tomorrow look like, Alon?
as far as I'm concerned, as a father to more or less 7 kids,
Wow.
I have to be optimistic, and I'm very proud to be Israeli, and I'm very proud to be able to walk with my kids all over Israel. And you need to understand, Jerusalem 50 years ago, you could not cross the middle side of Jerusalem to the other side. It was a city divided in the middle to 2 parts. Nowadays you can walk anywhere you want, you can worship any religious you want. It's something that must never be taken for granted. But the first so-called conquerors of this place that allowed it and gave it soon after, my father and his friends gave Jerusalem with their blood to the entire Jewish nation. We actually gave away the Holy Mountain back to the Jordanians then and the Palestinians today. This is part of what we do, this is part of the way we live, and this is why we decided, first and foremost, to leave the politics outside of the Ammunition Hill premises, but secondly, we decided to find the largest common denominator that we're able to speak to the whole world. And one of our best successes is that the American consulate and the British consulate started bringing their own guests to Ammunition Hill because they understand that indeed we're telling stories about the mightiest army of the world, but we're trying to show the world that it's not only about power and mightiness, it's about a moral code, which is as important to us to say. And there are so many beautiful stories telling how different our victorious paratroopers than other victorious armies in the world, treating with dignity their rivals. And it's a little bit of a secret, but I need to tell you today that the Jordanians themselves are coming every year back to the Ammunition Hill, the guys who fought my fathers and friends, because they understand we're telling an amazing story that admire their bravery as well. And after we signed the peace treaty, they are coming every year to the Ammunition Hill to commemorate their own friends, because same as my father, they had to go to war because it's something to be with loyalty and commitment to their nations. But Ammunition Hill is hosting them gladly, and this is part of what we do, regardless of what everybody say around the world. I'm proud to be Israeli and Jewish.
Thank you. And Avnet, you focus and care for a segment of society that many leave behind, if I'm not mistaken, right? What are some of the challenges you foresee for the future of Israel and maybe society in general as it's in respect to this segment of society? What are some of the values that you've now experienced and have internalized ever since starting to work with the One Almog and Al Negev?
I'll start with the past. Alumni shows, and the Ron Almog himself showed how much we as a nation, Israel and the Jewish people, and also the rest of the Western world, have progressed and become a better people. I don't know how many of you knows, you don't hear me? Avnet. Oh, Avnet. A-V-N-E-T. Klein.
We'll go through all the names after when we're done, no problem.
I don't know who of you know, I'm sure you know Golda Meir and you heard about Golda Meir, but I don't know how many of you knows that Golda Meir had a granddaughter, autistic granddaughter. Nobody knows, because she never told. And not only she never told, she told her daughter, not to mention that Golda has a granddaughter, autistic granddaughter. Actually, her granddaughter is still alive. She's about 80. She lives somewhere in the north. The family ignored her. This was in the 60s. Another famous public figure is Yigal Allon. He was the first Southern commander of the South Command. He was Major General exactly as Doron Almog, and he also has a daughter with special needs. The family decided to send her to Scotland, Aberdeen. She was in a monastery till today. We have no idea what's going on with her today. And I'm not criticizing, I'm not in the position to criticize. I think what the Zionist movement did is amazing. We created a new Jew, right? We were without a land, we had no pride, we had no power. So Zionism created a new Jew. But in this creation, we had no room for weakness. We needed to be strong, we needed to be powerful. So sometimes we couldn't show weakness. And this is one of the maybe negative parts of Zionism. But what I want to show is how much we progressed. Because Doron Almog is a major general in the army. He was the Southern Command. He is very brave, very powerful, etc., etc. But in 1984, while he is rescuing Ethiopian Jews from Sudan, his second son was born. And his second son was born with severe mental impaired, combined with autism. The doctor said he would never speak, and he never spoke. He never said even one word. And Doron and his wife Didi decided to be different, decided to make a change, decided to be out of the closet with their son. And everybody in Israel knows that they had a son like this. And they created this amazing place for him. And in 2006, we opened Alei Negev, but in 2007, Iran died. But Doron and Didi decided not to leave Alei Negev, and they decided to keep fighting for people like Iran. And just last year, Doron and Alei Negev won the Israeli Prize for Lifetime Achievement. Israeli Prize is equivalent to Nobel Prize, you can say. It's the highest prize in Israel. And Doron, in front of all the nation, in the 68th birthday of the State of Israel, it received this prize. So this says something about our people, and I think that the future is bright. And it will be more and more advanced for people like the people that retreat.
I agree, and I think that, we as Americans I was born and raised here as well in New York. I made Aliyah 6 years ago. I think that it's very important not to compare. A country that is 69 years old and has gone through so much, and we all know the wars and the challenges and absorbing immigration and Ethiopians and Russian Jewry and external and internal challenges, and the list goes on, and yet to have the wherewithal to try to make society and life better for the weaker, which I think speaks volume of our values, our people's values, and of course our homeland Israel. And I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud to know of Net, the important work that you're doing, and Alon, of course, with the importance of history. Because we all know, if you know from where you came from, then you know where you're going. And leading to that, I think what I share about our students at Alexander Muss High School in Israel is that we create historical analysts. Similar to real estate or finance, if you're in the business long enough, then you can identify patterns. You know when's a good time to buy and when's a good time to sell, right? You have been there long enough to know when the market is strong and when it's weak. Same thing goes for history. History is something that repeats itself. And if you know your history, or know history in general, then you're able to identify patterns. I know my history, I'm thinking, gosh, look what's happening today. Right? Europe, Jews in Europe aren't so sure of themselves. Here in America, we're not sure.
this whole BDS thing, right? We don't feel it now, but in 20 years we'll know what the result is, right? Because today's students on college campuses are tomorrow's leaders, senators, congressmen. What are they being taught about Israel? You don't want to know, but you should. And so I wanted to bring this back to our next generation. We talk about the youth and our high school students here on the stage, and many of whom you know, and you know others who are in high school, and they're going to college. And in many of the college campuses in the United States of America, the Golden Medina, they're fighting our battle. We don't feel it. We're at home. We're going to work all day. They're there. They're walking by the anti-Israel protests. Right? They're walking by the claims Israel's an apartheid state. They have to sit in a classroom sometimes where a professor openly spews these things. Not easy. But it's up to us, it's on us to ensure that they're ready. Because as we say in Hebrew, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh, all of Israel is responsible one for the other. If we don't prepare our next generation, then who are we? They're a reflection of us. And that's what's happening at the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. I want to ask our panelists just a quick question. We're going to, our alumni. What does Israel mean to you? Or, what does it mean to be a member of the Jewish people? You can answer both or either of the questions. Would you like to start?
Sure. So Israel for me is just a home. So our amazing teacher, Lisa Bitton, taught us thousands of years of Jewish history in just 2 months. And through that, we really got a deep understanding of what it means to be Jewish, what it means to have Israel as a place for the Jewish people. And I think that is what really is going to prepare us for college. We had these kind of debates in class, on trips, when we were learning. We would talk about people like criticizing Israel, saying it's an apartheid state, how to respond. And these kind of debates going back and forth were really helpful. She would answer all of our toughest questions. It was challenging sometimes to understand everything, but she really made it possible for us, and I now feel a lot more comfortable about my knowledge of Israel and how to deal with it in the future.
There's a lot to be proud of and exciting as this is. We have to wrap this up for our next round. But I want to give a nice round of applause to our panelists.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double high or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.